Good evening. Please distribute this video, which is a letter from the World Organization for Liberation of Armenia to the President of the United States and to the Speaker of the House of Representatives of the United States Congress. This is a SOS signal about Armenia. World Organization for Liberation of Armenia. Հայաստանի Ազատագրութեան Համաշխարհային Կազմակերպութեան. To the President of the United States, Mr. Joe Biden, to the Speaker of the United States House of Representatives, Ms. Nancy Pelosi, Washington, D.C., November 22, 2022. Appeal. Open letter. Mr. President of the United States, Ms. Speaker of the House, please support us in liberating Armenia from Russia's jail of nations and returning the Republic of Armenia to the family of the free world. This appeal is from the founding leaders of the World Organization for the Liberation of Armenia, and we ask the highest executive and legislative bodies of the United States, as well as all the American citizens of goodwill, to support us in our righteous and dignified struggle against the evil empire of Russia, which occupied Armenia, and support us in our struggle against the regime of Russian agents who step by step occupied Armenia for 31 years, from 1991 to 2022 until now. This agents' regime, for more than 3 decades, under the Moscow's criminal and barbaric authority, and in part under the supervision of the Russian secret services and other Russian dictates, now under the current leadership of so-called Prime Minister of Armenia, who pretends to be a Western advocate and the revolutionary leader of the Armenian people, but he is actually a faithful Russian agent, and under that veil, the so-called Armenian government is leading Armenia to the final destruction of the Republic of Armenia, not allowing the United States of America and the Western countries to help and save Armenia. It is clear to us, to Armenian Democrats and patriots who are concerned about the national future of Armenia and Armenian people, that it is only because of the active intervention of the United States of America and the Western countries today that the anti-constitutional colonial administration of Armenia, called Government of Armenia, which represents the Russian Empire, does not resort to the last action plan in the Kremlin. That final action is to handle the territory of the Republic of Armenia as a Russian governorate to the Russian fascist empire, and to that anti-democratic and anti-Armenian action on behalf of most of the Armenian people who deprived and deceived by the Moscow Empire and its Armenian agents. We need the support of the United States as consultative, as organizational, legal, and as institutional activities. But the most important now is the official recognition of our organization, movement, the World Organization for the Liberation of Armenia. On the other hand, we ask you, don't accept the so-called government of Armenia, including all 3 branches, legislative, executive, and judicial, as a legal leadership of Armenia, because it was formed through zombifying and deceiving the people. So-called opposition parties of Armenia also are the agents of Russia. Today's ruling political force of Armenia, under the veil of what has been called the Velvet Revolution of 2018, in the KGB scenario, has been illegal after taking power, revealing its anti-democratic, anti-national, and anti-constitutional behavior, violating not only the constitution and laws of Armenia, but also the international codes ratified by Armenia, violating the interests and dignity of Armenia and Armenian people. Unlike President Zelensky, who sought Western help for the protection of his country, Ukraine, Armenian Prime Minister Pashinyan, who plays the role of the Prime Minister of Armenia in the Russian colony named Republic of Armenia, the so-called Prime Minister escaped the hands of civilized world. This Moscow agent is implementing the Russian plan to hand over the Republic of Armenia to the Russian, Turkish, Azerbaijani tandem, leaving the self-governing territory of Armenia to the whim of Turkey, Azerbaijan, and Russia. The final goal of these Russian agents in Armenia is to eliminate the last remnants of the Armenian statehood. First, to eliminate the Armenian army and incorporate Armenia into the Russian Empire as a simple governorate province. It can bring us to the white and red genocides of Armenians and elimination of the Armenian nation. Thanks to God, we have in Armenia and in Armenian diaspora democratic and national forces and individuals, which are, for instance, the National Democratic Axis in Armenia and the World Organization for the Liberation in the Diaspora. Despite the secret work of the Kremlin and its secret services and mass medias, the work they did during many decades against the Armenia and Armenian nation, there are such Armenian forces and individuals who understand the destructive role of Russia and its Armenian agent, as well as understand the need of the influence of the United States in the Middle East and in the Armenian highlands in the Republic of Armenia. But unfortunately, the people who has this political orientation in Armenia, being under the complete surveillance and control of the Russian secret services, cannot throw away the Russian colonial yoke. And that is because of lack of informational, organizational, and military technical means. We understand that for the United States, it is not a big problem to provide those informational, organizational, and military technical means to the freedom fighting and democratic forces and individuals of Armenia and diaspora in order to liberate Armenia from the Russian colonial yoke. The United States can help us, for instance, with the strong informational support of radio and TV Liberty Free Europe. Therefore, we ask you to provide those informational, organizational, military technical means to the organization which consider themselves as real allies of America and the Western countries, which consider themselves as real liberators of Armenia from the Russian yoke. A good example of that help is the national liberation revolution of our heroic brothers in Ukraine, Maidan in 2014. It could not have won without the help of the United States and the West. And now Ukraine is victorious against the evil empire of Russia and is victorious against the axis of the fascist countries. Ukraine is now on the first line of the fight of the free world, the fight for the democracy and freedom against the fascism and the slavery. The United States this year put Armenia on the one row with most important places to the world fight between freedom and slavery. There are three most important places of the world war for democracy and freedom. Ukraine, the visit of Miss Nancy Pelosi on May 2, 2022. Taiwan, the visit of Miss Nancy Pelosi on August 2, 2022. Armenia, the visit of Miss Nancy Pelosi on September 17, 19. The World Organization for the Liberation of Armenia considers itself as an ally of the United States of America, as an ally of the free world. We also need the help of the same kind that the USA and the free world provides to Ukraine in its war against the fascism. We, the grateful sons and daughters of Armenian nation, cannot forget the generous and significant help of the United States of America to the Armenian nation, who became a victim of the First World War, 1914-1918, and the Armenian Genocide, 1915 to 1923. But Armenia also became one of the victorious nations of the World War First. General Field Marshal Ludendorff, the deputy head of the general headquarters of Kaiser Germany, said that in 1918 only the Armenians fought against us in the east. It means against the German bloc in the east. The result of the Armenian heroic 9-month fight was that the Turkey could capture the only oil city of that time, only oil city in the world of that time, Baku, city of Baku, captured only on September 14, which was decisive for the defeat of the German bloc in autumn 1918. The German army, the German navy, and the German Air Force couldn't receive the oil from Baku. So that was one of great causes uh, of German defeat in the First World War. And Armenia was the only ally of the United States and Great Britain and France and Italy and Japan in the Southern Caucasus. The other countries of the Southern Caucasus were allies of Germany and Turkey. We, the grateful sons and daughters of Armenian nation, remember well that with the help of our allies, and especially with the help of the United States of America, hundreds of thousands of Armenian children have been saved from the hunger and Turkish massacres. Especially 132,000 Armenian orphans have been saved by the American missioners. Today, Armenia is under the great threat, even more deadly than it was a century ago. And that dark and bloody threat can be stopped with the help of America and the West, and especially the implementation of the arbitral award of the Woodrow Wilson on November 22, 1920. That is a serious legal document helping Armenia after the disastrous genocide of 1915. We ask you also to open a Wilsonian club in Armenia, which will have a goal to bring the Armenian American political and diplomatic relations to the higher level. It can at least balance the presence of the Lazarev Club in Armenia, which is a political and diplomatic tool in the hands of Russia. Creating the Lazarev Club, Russia making a good ground for the activities of the Russian officials in Armenia, as well as for the activities of the Russian agents in Armenia. That is a threat to the independence of the Republic of Armenia. We understand that there are a lot of obstacles made by the Kremlin's openly anti-American and anti-Western and pro-Turkish and pro-Azerbaijani policy both in Armenia and in the world. Of course, the so-called official Yerevan is under the complete influence of that anti-democratic and fascistic policy of Russia. Therefore, We ask the United States of America to help us, the pro-American and pro-Western forces and individuals of Armenia and of Armenian diaspora, to remove those obstacles together with our joint efforts, Armenian-American joint efforts. We believe and expect that the United States, which is the strongest citadel and fortress of the world democracy and the greatest democratic republic of the world history, will not leave Armenia and Armenians in this dramatic situation. Moreover, America will help Armenians, America will help Armenia to liberate themselves from the Russian fascism, to liberate the brains and souls of Armenians, to liberate the people and the land of Armenia. We need the American help in our existential struggle against the Russian evil empire and against its fascist allies, Turkey and Azerbaijan. In Armenia, you can provide that help through the National Democratic Axis of Armenia. In Armenian diaspora, you can provide that help through the World Organization for the Liberation of Armenia. We are trying to consolidate the Armenians of the world under the flag of the democracy and liberty, under the flag of the alliance with the USA and with the free world. Armenians of the world, including the Armenians of the historical homeland and the diaspora. Of the historical homeland and the diaspora. The existence of the Armenian diaspora is the result of the Armenian massacres in the historical homeland. It is the result of the Russian imperial policy of Armenia without Armenians. It is the result of the joint Turkish-Russian genocide against Armenians in 1915-1923. It is the result of the joint Russian-Turkish military aggression of 1920-1921 against the Republic of Armenia. Armenia, which was the ally of the United States of America. The existence of the Armenian diaspora is the result of the Russian or Soviet domination in Armenia in 1920-1991. 70 years, 1921-1991. The existence of the Armenian diaspora is the result of the re-establishing the domination of the KGB dictatorial Russia on the new independent Armenia. Armenia, which was declared in 1991, independence of Armenia was declared in 1991 after the victory of the United States against the Soviet Union, or let us say Russia, Soviet Russian Empire. But during the existence of the new Republic of Armenia, from 1991 to 2022 until now, KGB Russia expelled millions of Armenians from their homelands. Now, the very existence of the Republic of Armenia, as well as the Armenian nation, is under the threat. Therefore, we send you this appeal, this open letter to the United States political leaders, to all United States citizens. This is a SOS signal from Armenia and from the Armenian people. World Organization for the Liberation of Armenia, WOLA. The leaders of WOLA, Dr. Alexander Brinken, Doctor of Arts, Lucerne, Switzerland, the Honorable President of the WOLA, Coordinator of WOLA in the Central Europe, Arutun Bagdasaryan, lawyer, member of the Chamber of Lawyers of Armenia, member of the Council of WOLA, coordinator of WOLA in Armenia, in Yerevan, and in the southern provinces of Armenia. Artur Ayvazyan, lawyer, member of the Chamber of Lawyers of Armenia, member of the Council of WOLA, member of the Council of National Democratic Axis, coordinator of WOLA in Armenia, in Yerevan, and in the provinces adjacent to Yerevan. Gokor Yegnukian, Realtor, New York, USA, member of the Council of WOLA, coordinator of WOLA in the East Coast states of the United States of America. Robert Kurkan, Operations Manager in Medical Science Center Laboratory, LA, California, member of the Council of WOLA, coordinator of WOLA in the West Coast states of the United States. Natsakan Kachatyan, Natsakan Arter Kachatyan Bagratuni, historian, Armenian Army Colonel, retired. The founder of TV show Great Armenia, LA, California, the founding member of the Council of WOLA, coordinator of WOLA in America and Europe, in the West Coast states of the USA. World Organization for the Liberation of Armenia, Հայաստանի Ազատագրութեան Համաշխարհային Կազմակերպութեան, Organisation Mondiale pour la Libération de l'Arménie, Organisation Mondiale para la Libération de Armenia, Weltorganisation für die Befreiung Armeniens, Organisation Mondiale para la Liberación de Armenia, Всевидня Организация Вызволения в Армении. Thank you. This was the open letter to the President of the United States of America and to the Speaker of House of the United States of America from the World Organization for Liberation of Armenia, WOLA.